everyone, I'm here again with another book review. The book which I'm going to discuss today is an adventure. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Huckleberry Finn is adventurous novel of boyhood written by Mark Twain and published in 1884 in UK and in 1885 in USA. Mark Twain was great American author of 19th century. William Faulkner called him the father of American literature. The Adventure of Huckleberry Finn is the sequel of the novel The Adventure of Tom Sawyer. But unlike Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn is more than a children's book. It is a comic masterpiece for adults and profound novel that deal with the themes of slavery, social discrimination, freedom, and mockery of religion. It is narrated in first person by Huckleberry Finn, the protagonist of the novel, and written in vernacular English. The plot of the book is set in the year 1830 and 40, before Civil War and before the abolition of the slavery. Both the books, Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, are set in fictional town of St. Petersburg, Missouri, which was situated on the bank of Mississippi River. It is an adventurous story of runaway boy Huck and a slave Jim. When Mark Twain was writing this novel, slavery was abolished from the northern part of America, but southern states were still facing the problem of slavery due to the economical structure of the society, which was based on the plantation, where slaves were required in large numbers. Huck and Jim both wanted freedom in their own way. Freedom in the novel is multidimensional. It is physical freedom for both Huck and Jim. Huck from the civilizing atmosphere at Widow Douglas, Miss Watson, and from brutal drunken father, and from the constraints of civilized society. Jim wanted his freedom from slavery and wanted to reunite with his wife and children. It also means freedom from inherited prejudice, which is what Huck achieves in relation to Jim at the end. He successfully wrestles with his conscience and his upbringing about slavery. The story starts with Huck. He is the protagonist and narrator of his own story. He starts his narration with the recapitulation of his previous adventure with Tom Sawyer, in which he gains a lot of money as a share which bank holds for his trust. Huck was adopted by Widow Douglas and her sister, Miss Watson. They wanted to civilize him, which he does not like. He wanted to get rid of the civilized life banners, school, and church. One day, his drunkard father came to take Huck with him. He wanted the custody of his son and tried to convince the judge to hand over the money that Huck and Tom received in the adventure of Tom Sawyer. Huck was successful in preventing Pap from acquiring his money, but Pap kidnapped Huck and forcibly took him to an isolated cabin in the woods. He locked Huck in his absence. He also beats him. Huck managed to run away from Pap's captive. He killed a pig and spread its blood all over the cabin and faked his own death. Huck escaped from there without the threat of being followed. He went to Jackson's Island, which was few kilometers away in the middle of Mississippi River. He saw many people came to that island to find his dead body. One day, he found Jim on the island. Jim was the slave of Miss Watson. He ran away from her because he overheard that Mrs. Watson wanted to sell him to a plantation owner. He feared that they would treat him horribly and he would never be able to reunite with his wife and children. They both got a company of each other and decided to help each other. However, Huck had his own dilemma between legality and morality of helping a runaway slave and his conscience to protect him. He made a moral choice based on his own valuation of Jim's friendship and human worth. They found a cavern to hide in high on a steep ridge which can protect them from rain and sight of people. A great storm causes the river to flood. They both found a raft and a house floating past the island. They stopped the raft and took out all the necessary items which they needed on the island. They also found a dead body which was shot. Jim stopped Huck to see the dead man's face. He was protective in nature and has knowledge and superstitions and nature. Huck was impressed with his knowledge. Huck disguised himself into a girl and went to the town to find out the news. He came to know that people are searching for Jim. They assumed that runaway slave Jim murdered Huck. They kept a reward of $300 to capture Jim. He also comes to know that her husband has seen smoke coming from Jackson's Island and was going to investigate that night in hope of getting prize for capturing Jim. Huck rushed back to Jackson's Island quickly and two of them escaped from there with their belongings. They started sailing down the river on the raft. They wanted to reach at the mouth of Ohio River so that they can go to the free states where slavery has been abolished. They encountered the robbers on a wrecked steamboat. Due to the thick fog, they missed the mouth of Ohio River. Some slave hunters were looking for runaway slaves. He saved Jim by lying them that his father is on the raft and he has smallpox. They got frightened and gave Tom some money for the treatment. A steamboat hits their raft and both of them got separated. Huck went to the river bank and found Grangerford's family who lived there. There was one more family who lived there, that was Shepherd's son's family. They both were neighbors and had a long quarrel between them. Grangerford's daughter ran away with Harney Shepherd's sons, leading to a gunfight. Huck finally reunited with Jim, who repaired the broken raft and escaped from there. Huck and Jim rescued two frauds, the king and the duke. They continued down on the raft with two unwelcomed people. The duke and king did many scandals on the river bank. They reached a town near the river bank. A local man, Peter Wilkes, recently died. He had three nieces, but the property was inherited by Peter Wilkes' two brothers. Both Duke and King fooled the niece and other people by pretending that they are Peter's brother. Huck saved the girl's property from these two scandalers by hiding it in grave of Mr. Peter. Before they could expose them, Wilkes' real brother arrived from England. The angry people hold Duke and King, but they managed to escape and reached back to the raft with Huck and Jim. One day, Huck discovered that Duke and King sold Jim for $40 to a local farmer, Silas Phelps. Jim, with the help of Tom, plans to rescue Jim and finds out where he was imprisoned. Tom made over elaborated plan to free Jim. Sally Phelps was luckily Tom's aunt. Huck went to Phelps' farm and Sally Phelps mistaken him with Tom. When Tom came, he was received as his brother said. Jim was held prisoner in a cabin as Tom guessed. While escaping Jim, Tom got injured by a shot in the calf. Tom went to search for the doctor to treat his injury. Jim, instead of running away, remained with Tom to nurse his injury. Tom was brought home by the old doctor and Jim was imprisoned again. They both were very impressed with the selflessness and kindness of Jim. Tom now discloses that Miss Watson had released Jim 2 months back in her will before dying. Tom was aware about this and planned this rescue only for fun. He paid Jim $40 so that he can reunite with his family and get freedom. Ultimately, Tom's aunt recognizes both Tom and Huck. Huck was little worried if his father appears again. In that case, he will have to go with him. But Jim revealed the secret that the body they found on the floating house on the Jackson Island was of Pap. He was dead. Aunt Sally then wanted Huck to adopt, but Huck had some other plans to go to West. This is the end of the novel. In this novel, humor and satire is often used by Mark Twain to soften his blow on social criticism. It's a picaresque and most famous novel of American literature. For more book reviews, subscribe my channel. Thank you for watching.